welcome to PPR podcast number 72. My name is Rudy, and alongside me is Mr. Bert Grossman, and in the middle, in the hot seat is...
Christopher White from Lincoln Hive. Hornets, you name it, whatever you want.
Chris, I just told you off air, or I'll repeat it again for depending on where we start this piece, but you're sit down with Allison Edmonds. Just, man, you jump off the screen. You have a commanding presence. Where does that come from?
I think that mainly comes from my mom's side. She always told me to speak up, to make sure I've carried myself with respect, manner, and always speak really, I wouldn't say like speak grammar appropriately.
So I see you have the Yale sweatshirt on.
Yeah, stop
today.
bragging, Chris. I mean,
Or you was
he went to Pitt.
Yeah, was Pitt in the equation at all?
Penn was in the equation. I said
Pitt.
There's a big difference between Pitt and Penn.
Come on, man. I said University of Pittsburgh, not University of Pennsylvania. We're not Ivy League.
That's a four-year school, right?
Wow.
Pitt is?
Yeah, it is. It's public, too.
All right, so tell us about how you became an Ivy Leaguer, young man.
So when I was during my track season, I noticed that a lot of Ivy schools were reaching out. So once that the Ivy started reaching out, I made sure my grades were there to make sure. And then I remember it was just like a random night. The Yale coach called me and offered me. I was so excited. My mom didn't even believe me at first when I told her. And then she called the coach to make sure I wasn't lying about the whole offer. And she was just in shock because she never thought it would be an Ivy League reaching out.
All right, now I'm going to ask a dumb question. Please don't jump on me. Yale is where? I know Harvard.
No, Connecticut. Yeah.
All right, so have you been to Connecticut yet?
Browns, New York.
Yes, I visited around July.
And
Columbia.
So you were there in the dead of summer.
Yes.
All right. So you have growing up. I don't know your life story at all, Chris. Have you ever experienced cold weather beyond what we're experiencing right now?
I did not. No, but I do plan going out there in December to see the cold.
Yeah, because it's going to require a wardrobe change.
Yeah, because we had Scotty Young on last week, and he went to West Virginia in board shorts and in a t-shirt, so he had no concept of the cold weather back there. But you look like you're semi-prepared with the hoodie.
Yes, I am.
So
hold on, let me ask one thing.
Sure.
So you brought up track. So are you going track or football or both?
It's on an academic scholarship, but I wouldn't mind doing both.
Again.
But I prefer to do football there.
Academic.
So, because the reason why he's asking, Chris, is that he was a big track guy too. What was you were a discus?
Shot put.
Shot put?
Right. Shot put.
He was a big shot put guy, and so he's partial to athletes who play football and.
And what's an academic scholarship? What is that?
That's financial aid for a school that's incredibly expensive.
So you have to have good grades?
Based on your transcripts. So give us an idea what those transcripts look like.
Mainly A's and B's, and just knowing. I usually challenge myself in the classroom by taking AP classes. Like right now, I'm taking a college class, which is English 101, and I'm taking AP Calc as well.
And so then they found you. Man, I no disrespect, Chris, but there's got to be thousands and thousands of kids from coast to coast. How did they find Chris White?
That's a great question. I think on the lines where I was reaching out to coaches, I was emailing coaches. I remember when I was starting the recruiting process, I list all the coaches that the potential schools I wanted to go to. I found the coach's email, and I'll email my highlight tape and transcripts to various other coaches.
So that's interesting because I don't know if it's different now. When we grew up, there was two schools in the world, and it was Harvard and Yale pretty much academically. Did you ever think of Harvard, or was that even a decision, or was it just Yale?
It was between three schools. Three schools were mainly reaching out. That was Yale, UPenn, and Dartmouth.
UPenn, Philly. See that? They didn't reach out to me. I grew up 3 minutes from there. They never even called me. I don't know why. Could have been the transcripts. I'm not going to say anything.
Yeah, I tell you, let me break it to you. It was the transcripts. Chris, you're talking to two guys who, if they had a number on the left side of the decimal on their GPA, it was considered a good report card. So you're in a different league than we will ever fathom, right?
Keep that in mind. You have to speak down to us.
Yes. You don't use simple words. But I'm curious, was the academic side of things always easy for you, or was it ever a struggle for you? And if so, how did you overcome that struggle?
At first, it was a struggle. So, like my reading part was a struggle. So my mom did a great job of making me go to tutors, get extra practice in reading. And then the math side, usually it just came easy to me. And I also still practice today. I go tutors to make sure I'm on AP Cal.
So what comes easier now? Because you say that is athletics come easier now, or academics easier now for you?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think math probably comes easier than me than athletics, because I think I train more for athletics than academics.
Fascinating. Fascinating, because the math side of things would sink us both.
No,
you know?
it would all sink. Yes.
All right, well, we're going to come back to this because it's a significant accomplishment. But there's also a football game to be played Friday, and you're going to be one of the first prep high school athletes to step on the field at Snapdragon and play a football game. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot. I'm really excited. I couldn't sleep last night just thinking about it. I've been to the stadium when they played Arizona. It's a beautiful stadium, and I'm just excited to play there and be on the field.
How hot was that day?
It was hot. They played like at 12, and our seats didn't have any shade. So I remember I was sweating a lot, but I enjoyed the game.
Did you play youth football?
Yes, I did.
Which organization?
I played for Terrasana Cougars when I was younger.
Thank God we finally got somebody that wasn't
Somebody
Clark
was on
Moses.
somebody was on the East Lake Panthers. Speaking to kids out there who want to be the next Chris White or be the next Roderick Robinson, how important is youth football in this grand scheme of things?
I think youth football is very important, just on the lines of first, like making sure you like the sport. So I tested out in youth and I liked it, so I continued playing, and I was able to get the fundamentals down at a very young age. So I think it's a very good method of getting getting your toes wet to make sure you like it and everything.
So you're up for an award, Jeff, for the Highlandia student athlete. Should you automatically win that with the Yale sweatshirt on, academic scholarship, or should it even be a race?
I wish I could just win that automatically, but I'm just hoping everyone votes for me. And I was watching all the other ones, and they look like they had great interviews as well.
You know, there's certain perks to winning the Highlandia. One, you get a year's supply of milk, and then the company takes your likeness, that smiling face of yours right there, and they plaster you on the side of a carton of milk, and they make a whole month's worth of runs. So you could be in everybody's kitchen throughout San Diego County if you're so deemed the fan fave. What would that mean to you?
That would mean a lot. I never could predict that my face would be on a carton, and the year's supply of milk just sounds great because I eat cereal a lot and I make protein shakes.
Yes, that would be a nice little perk.
Hey, I wanted to ask you something because I don't know if it gets enough attention or doesn't. I used to coach at Hoover, and I remember when David Dunn took over at Lincoln. Lincoln would win 2 games a year, maybe. Everybody would go to Saints because they'd say you can't go to college if you go to Lincoln, and you won't play at the next level. I mean, at this point, you're playing in the Open Championship, Snapdragon. You have SEC guys, Division I guys. You have Pac-12 guys. You have Ivy League guys getting scholarships now. I mean, what is I just said what the impact is of that staff, but can you talk to that a little bit for people that aren't into it every day, like Paul and I, and see what the change?
So I have to give a big shout out to Coach Carter and Coach Dunn. I remember when like school started and we were playing football, they do like daily checks, and they tell us every day to make sure our grades are adequate and like outstanding, because when college scouts come through Lincoln, which is usually a lot of college scouts, they always ask first, what is the transcripts or what is your grades looking like? So he always has us make sure every assignment's turned in, and make sure he's on us every day.
Well, can I follow up on that? Because
Yeah.
Chris, were you there the day we broke the news to Roderick?
Yes.
So first of all, that was a great entrance on my part, wasn't it?
It was a great entrance. It woke us up a little bit, and we were arguing about who was the GOAT between Michael Jordan and LeBron. So it was just perfect timing.
That's not an argument. It's Jordan.
But the reason why I bring it up is I just happened to glance at the back of your meeting room there, your workout room, and I saw all the coaches that have visited the campus, and it's virtually a who's who of college schools. Is that every school's there? And I was curious about that. Is that something that I would be, as a football team and as a football program, I would be so proud to say every one of these schools felt it was necessary to come visit our campus?
Think on the lines, like, we see it every day, but we really don't think too much of it. It's just what we do on the field, and we kind of give motivation to ourselves. That board kind of gives motivation to make sure that we're doing everything we need to do. So hopefully all the kids on our football team can go to the next level and be recruited.
And that's an important point you say. We don't think much of it because it's become the norm, where if we would have said this, 6, 8, 10 years ago, it would have been the biggest thing since, sliced bread if USC comes. But now it's the norm, and I think that speaks to what they've done over there.
Chris, I follow you on social media, Chris, and I remember you posting, I think it was you, maybe it was one of your teammates, that posted a list of accomplishments of Coach Carter. Was that, or of the coaching staff, was that you that put that up on Twitter?
I don't think that was me, but I think I remember I remember seeing the tweet.
Yeah, it was, and the list was endless of all the people that he's helped and provided opportunities to. So we interrupted you. You want to speak to Coach Dunn and Coach Carter a little bit more?
Yeah, I will. Coach Dunn, I feel like he's a good coach. Has chill mannerisms and he makes sure he always checks in, makes sure we're okay. And he also, in the coach's office, he always supplies food, PB&Js, just in case, so we can make sure we have our weight. And we also have a scale too in the coach's office, which is great. And then Coach Carter, on the other hand, he's a coach who will show that he loves you in any way possible, where he will support you throughout your journey and make sure you get somewhere. I remember during one of his speeches, he brought up a list of all the names he was trying to get to the next level. And I know he sleeps late just talking to coaches to make sure everyone has an offer or gets recruited for the next level.
And don't leave Rashif off there, your defense coordinator. I know you've seen some of the sneakers he wears at the game and some of the outfits, so he doesn't get the same amount of play, but also another one. I mean, you guys are averaging, I think, 7 points or 8 points a game you're giving up this year. I mean, that's pretty impressive.
That's incredible. All I can say about Coach Dunn is he's not always happy with me, but he tells me straight. And if he's got an issue, and he doesn't carry a grudge either. That's what I respect about him. Even when we have our wires crossed, he's always been able to let me back into the hive, if you will.
Rick Jackson's like that too. Yeah.
Absolutely. Coach Jackson has been cross with me more than once.
As with I.
But as always,
I got to ask a question before you go off on it. Who is arguing or debating between LeBron and Jordan? Who's taking LeBron on that one?
LeBron, of course. Rod was picking LeBron, and I think PV made a joke saying Michael Jordan was the GOAT. So
that's a joke. That's no joke.
Yeah, where are you on that debate?
Man, it's close. I think so. Just because I watched LeBron play, I'm gonna have to go with him. But I know Michael Jordan's like up, obviously like number 2. They're interchangeable.
What?
Young man.
Wait, what?
We love you. You're a good kid, but I'm just telling you, as somebody who's watched them both play, there's not even a comparison.
I'm not sure LeBron's ahead of Kobe, Bill Russell, Kareem.
LeBron doesn't make my
Wilt Chamberlain
starting all-time starting 5.
This generation.
He'd be on the team, but he would not make my starting 5 even.
That's what's wrong with this generation.
Because the will to win is significant.
Let me ask you a question. You going out? Are you going to wear Jordans or you going to wear LeBrons? All right, that's your answer.
Of course, Jordan.
All right, that's your answer then. Rashif will wear LeBrons, but still.
All right, well, now that we set you straight there, let's continue on with the academic conversation because I think it's important. What the habits that make you a good athlete also make you a good student?
I think so. Mainly, the main trait that I love to practice is discipline, and mainly discipline just to make sure I have all my work done. And also, my mom always says a saying, do what you have to do before you do what you want to do. So I always make sure all my homework is done before I get to watch TV or do something I want to do.
So you bring up your mom a lot. How's she feel about you going 3,000 miles away?
Well, she always says she's only one flight away, so
That's true.
I know she's excited because she never thought of any of her kids going to Ivy League schools.
How many kids are in the family?
Just I have an older sister.
Well, I'm sure she's excited, but I bet you the first emotion she must feel is immense pride.
Yes, I remember after I committed to Yale, she gave me a whole speech about just how she was proud of me and how my hard work finally paid off and how it's not over, but I still got to work at Yale and and hopefully compete for a starting spot as a freshman.
I can imagine. I'm proud of you, and I just met you.
Yeah, I just met you. So go on. Tell us about your mom. What does she do?
She's a program analyst and works for the government. Other than that,
Now it's starting to come together.
Yeah.
All right. So she's very successful in her own right.
yes.
Are you gonna? I don't know. I hate to go off that subject, but because this is all new to us. Ivy League, academic scholarship. Do you still run track this year after, or is it? Do you focus? Do you enroll early? Do you focus on academics now just to make sure that's right, or do you finish football and then go into track?
So I do plan to run track this year, but I am not enrolling early in. I asked the coach if he wants me to enroll early. He said he wants me to finish out my senior year. So I also chose to run track just because I've been running track since I was around in 4th grade, and I just can't give it up. And I also try new events this year.
Like what?
I'm mainly going to focus on like the 1 and the 2. I was mainly a 400 runner throughout my whole track career.
So if you could pick only one, you had to give up one, football or track. Which one are you giving up?
I'll probably give up. That's tough because I wouldn't be the person who I am today without track. But since I just love football, I'm going to have to cut out track and stick with football.
I was about to say, you're going to lose that fan vote if you say you're giving up football.
Well, and Chris, I would argue, Chris, I'm sure both sports are instrumental, but I would argue that the same could be said about your football career. You're probably not the person you are without the lessons football taught you.
I would say so, yes.
I don't know if this is too much, but you're obviously brilliant. You have an academic scholarship to the greatest school in the world, some will argue. Would you worry about CTE and football and collisions and things like that later on? Or is that something you just don't worry about this age?
Sometimes I don't really worry about that. I worried about concussion, so that's why I always wear Zenith helmets because I feel like they're one of the best helmets to prepare from me taking hits. So I've been wearing Zenith helmets since I was younger to protect my head, and I've been so grateful to have 0 concussions throughout the whole football year.
Now, is that the $1,500 per helmet model? Is the Zenith the real expensive one?
I didn't think it was that much. I think it was maybe $500 to $600.
So it's pretty well. Headgear is expensive.
Yeah, but it changes. You and I, we get CT, we lose. Well, we go from 80 IQ down to a 75. It makes a difference when you're working with a lot more.
You stand to lose a lot more brain capacity than we have. We
don't have much.
And it's mostly in the back. So
yeah.
Chris,
let's talk about the game this week.
Yeah. Okay. Go ahead. Shoot.
So you guys are watching film. What obviously you see Sayin and Carlsbad, but what's the biggest concern going into that game besides Sayin?
Besides Sayin, I think it will be trusting, first of all, trusting our keys that we see and make sure we don't get caught looking in the backfield with play action. Because I know you said not try to say Sayin, but Sayin really carries out the fakes between play action. So I was watching the game versus Poway, and I saw that he kept it up, and he made everything look the same. Whether it was a pass, run, he would do everything the same. So I have to trust myself in reading the keys and make sure I don't get caught looking in the backfield.
Through all the commotion and smoke and people arguing back and forth about what teams should be there, I think we got it right in the sense that the 2 best teams in the county are meeting Friday night. Would you agree with that assessment?
Yes, I will agree.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, the point is to get 1 and 2 right, not 3, 4, and 5 right.
Right.
And 1 and 2 is right. So And that's interesting you say about staying, because you look at, and people talk about a 5-star, but it's more than just dropping a dime on this throw. It's, every single part of his game, carry out the fakes, the steps, everything, and that's what you see.
Well, on the flip side of that, is I don't think Carlsbad's had to tackle anybody like Roderick Robinson, right?
Yes, I would say so. Actually, they had a tackle. I think Inglewood had a 6'4" running back. I forgot where he was committed to, but I think he would probably be not as tall as Rod, but similar in tackling wise.
Yeah, because
yeah, I know the kids are
tell us what that contact is like when you try to bring down a rolling bowling ball that's going 50 miles an hour.
No, I got a better one. Who would you rather, that little one-on-one drill where you got to hit? Would you rather go against Josiah Cox or Roderick? With your Zenith helmet on.
So I know during Oklahoma's I went against Josiah, and I can say he is a hitter, but I have not went against Rod yet, and I would like to, just for the experience, but I've seen what he can do to people, so I'm probably just gonna pick JoJo. I think I have my best chances with JoJo.
Okay.
So do they still run the Oklahoma in practice? How often do you guys do that?
Actually, we don't really hit that much during practice. We mainly just focus on making sure we're lined up right and we get the fundamentals down.
Yeah, I think a lot of teams are going to that. It always used to be back in your day
that's all we did, all practice.
You'd pound on each other for 2.5 hours. By the time you got to the game, you could barely stand up.
Yeah, but it was interesting because you guys had the same thing. You're too old for this, but when I was in college, we had Craig Ironhead Hayward, and he was a 280-pound tailback. So you get used to hitting those people, and then everybody looks slow or something. So you go against Rod, and it's like any running back you go against is like, all right, this is gear 2. It's not gear 4 anymore, and you're so used to gear 4. So it has some advantages to it.
So the game slows down, you're saying?
I would say so. But Rod's big, can run you over, he can spin, he can move, he has balance. When you see that every single day, you don't have to worry about what you're going to see on Friday night, really.
Well, is there a question in there?
No, it was a statement. Sorry.
Okay.
Sorry, Chris.
All right, hey.
I'm trying to get into Harvard. I'm going to send this to him.
Chris, before, allow us a couple more questions. I always ask kids to do this. Oh, by the way, have you, if you have to vote for Player of the Year, if you had that vote, you have 2 of your teammates that are on the podium. This is a tough question, young man. Who are you voting for?
Voting for?
If you don't have a vote, so you're not being held to it, but 2 Hornets are on the podium, as you know.
Yes, it's a time between the 2, just because me and Rod are close, and then JoJo is obviously my safety, and every time we're on the same side of the field, I feel like we always connect with each other. So I actually don't know who I would vote for. I'm leaning more towards Rod just because I knew him longer, but that's
all right.
That's pretty much it.
Well, I at least admire your courage for going out there.
I'm leaning towards you. Didn't even vote yet. Well, you know what? It's funny you asked that because I had trouble with that because I'm Josiah Cox's biggest fan, but I had trouble with that one between the 2. And then you have Sane in there, and and Cooper, who's just does everything. It's a tough year to vote.
Did you encounter Wrath at all on the field? You guys pretty much bottled, or no? Excuse me, that was Carlsbad. You didn't play Poway this year? You didn't see him, right? No. So you wouldn't know, because he runs hard too.
He does. I don't know. Rod's different.
Yeah,
different
Rod.
story.
Right. All right, young man. As we wrap this up, your advice to youngsters who maybe one day want to accomplish what you've already accomplished in you're 18 now, 17, 18?
18.
So you've accomplished a lot in your first 18 years. At this trajectory, you're probably going to be either the President of the United States or Senator or CEO of some major company. And if that's the case, please remember us because we're probably going to need some help in our sunset years. But Chris, advise youngsters about what you consider the keys of success.
I think mainly the keys to success is having discipline and also being on top of academics, because academics can take practically almost anyone as far as they put in the effort for. And always have a backup plan, because I didn't have no guarantee how long football is going to last for me. So my mom, now I'm bringing it back there, always emphasized the importance of having a backup plan.
All right, one last question.
I'll keep going. I'll talk.
Who's your favorite teacher?
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask. That same thing.
Stop. Who's your favorite teacher at Lincoln?
My favorite teacher has to be Mr. S right now in pre-calc.
All right. Well, the other teachers get pissed
I mean, not
off, like when you pick Rod over JoJo? Is it going to be like that at school? You're going to have a rough day at school today, man.
It's going to be tough in the huddle.
Tomorrow, man.
JoJo's going to be saying, what?
Teachers are all coming down for your schedule. Man, you have no problem picking favorites. I like it. So who do you like better on PPR, me or Paul?
I have to go with
Don't do it.
Paul.
Oh, man. You know, this, I don't.
I like this kid. So you're coming to the gala, right?
Yes, sir.
All right, please do. And we want to encourage the entire team to show up because it's going to be a fun night. We're looking at a crowd of maybe 2,000 people.
That's insane.
Yeah.
All right, one last question. Brandon just walked in. Who do you like best on PPR, me, Paul, or Brandon?
I'm going to have to go with Mr. Stone.
So I'm just last. In every poll, I'm last.
All right, well, there.
All right, what about Mike Milburn in there? Me, Mike Milburn? No, I give up.
You won.
You won after.
You won. All right, you just made Brandon's day.
Yeah, thanks, Chris.
Hey, Chris, I got to roll, so I'm going to Snapdragon to see if we can do our show live from the PPR Friday Night Live from the Snapdragon. So I got to go work on that. I appreciate you making 26 minutes of time for us. That's greatly appreciated. We'll put this up on social media sometime before the day is over, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Chris.
Chris White, everybody. This Turn Off the Machines podcast number 72 is now concluded.